Hello, my sleepy heads. It's good to have you back on History for Sleep. In the following minutes, you will experience a deep state of relaxation. This story helps you to easily sleep through the night, so you can get up energized in the morning. Not only will you fall asleep faster, you will also get rid of disturbing thoughts. Listen to these history stories for at least 10 days for the best results. The longer you listen to the video, the more likely you'll experience persistent and positive changes in the way you sleep. I wish you a great rest, and if you haven't already, we'd be very happy if you consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss any new calming and relaxing history story. Tonight, we're going to slowly drift into the shadowy world of medieval Europe, a time of stone castles, quiet villages, and whispered fears. Medieval Europe, a land of flickering torchlight and cold, cobblestone streets, where life could be as harsh as it was fleeting. Over the next hour or so, we'll imagine 7 grim tales of ordinary people, villagers, monks, knights, and witches, whose days and nights were shaped by fear, superstition, and the quiet rhythm of survival. From haunted castles to shadowed town squares, each story is designed to guide your mind gently toward rest. But before you get comfortable and let your mind drift into this ancient world, I'd love it if you could take a gentle moment to like this video and subscribe. Only if these calm stories of the past bring you peace. Your support truly helps me grow and keep making these calm journey through time just for you. And in the comments, let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always so wonderful to see our little community listening together from all corners of the world, quietly sharing these stories across space and time. So, settle in, dim the light, maybe turn on the fan, take a slow breath, and let us step softly into a world both dark and strangely mesmerizing. A world where history itself becomes a lullaby. Now let's begin. As night falls and the world outside grows quiet, let us slowly step back into a time long ago. A world both mysterious and unsettling, yet perfect for drifting into sleep. The medieval era, stretching across centuries, was a landscape of towering castles, dense forests, and villages where life was often harsh, brief, and unpredictable. Yet within this darkness lies a strange fascination. Tales of the past carry a gentle rhythm, an almost hypnotic cadence that can soothe the mind even while telling of grim deeds. Tonight, we will not rush through these stories. Instead, we will pause, allowing each shadow, each whispered secret to settle gently around us. These are not tales meant to shock or startle, but to unfold slowly, like mist across a quiet village street. Imagine the flicker of candlelight casting long, soft shadows on stone walls, the distant toll of a bell echoing across a sleepy town. Each story we will explore, the tragedies, the curses, the quiet fears, holds a subtle beauty. They remind us that even in hardship, there is a rhythm, a pattern, a story that can cradle the mind into rest. By allowing yourself to listen slowly, you may find the past becoming a lullaby, its mysteries softening into whispers that guide your thoughts toward calmness and sleep. The medieval world was a place where life and death walked closely together, and where ordinary people lived under rules and rituals that often seem strange to us now. Villagers rose with the sun, tending to fields and livestock, while knights trained or patrolled, and monks chanted in silent cloisters. Superstitions filled the air, and rumors of witches or haunted places drifted through quiet forests. Yet, in these whispers, there is a strange serenity. The very ordinary struggles of life, finding food, surviving harsh winters, navigating small-town politics, create a rhythm almost meditative in nature. As we explore these tales tonight, you may notice how the mundane and the extraordinary intertwine. The fear of a plague or the curse of a greedy noble may seem grim, but in the slow telling, they become a gentle narrative, easing the tension of the day from your mind. Imagine yourself wandering down a deserted cobblestone street, hearing only your own soft footsteps as the stories drift past like clouds in a twilight sky. Each story is a quiet journey into another life, another world, and yet the calmness of the narration allows your mind to rest. The darkness of the medieval world, once frightening, transforms into a cocoon of stillness, a place where the mind can float peacefully between fact and dream. Tonight's 7 tales will take us from haunted castles to shadowed forests, from lonely monasteries to quiet village squares. Some are stories of curses, others of betrayal, and a few speak of courage in the face of fear. Yet each has been chosen not for terror, but for the soft rhythm it can create as we move together through history. In the medieval era, storytelling was often a communal act, stories told by firelight, shared to pass the long nights of winter or to teach lessons without harsh lectures. In the same way, we will let these tales guide us gently, letting the cadence of words carry you slowly toward relaxation. Picture a village at dusk, smoke curling from chimneys, the faint sound of wine through the trees, and the distant call of an owl. These are the sounds of a world where every shadow has a story, every silence a meaning. By imagining these settings, the mind relaxes. By following the quiet unfolding of each tale, the body begins to unwind. Even the grim elements, the whispered curses, the lonely deaths, the mysterious happenings, serve to captivate without jolting, pulling attention gently from the present into a world of calm contemplation. In this way, the medieval past becomes less about fear and more about a peaceful journey through human experience. As we prepare to begin our first tale, allow your body to sink into comfort, your breathing to slow, and your thoughts to drift. These stories, though rooted in darkness and hardship, are ultimately guides to a meditative rest. The beauty of history is not only in the grand battles or famous rulers, but in the quiet moments, the lives of ordinary people, the rituals, the fears, and the hopes that echoed through stone walls and dense forests. By focusing on these details, the mind finds a rhythm akin to a lullaby. The 7 grim tales you are about to hear are gentle companions for sleep. They move at their own pace, allowing you to drift in and out of consciousness, carried by the soft current of history. Imagine each story as a door, opening slowly into a room of shadows and light, where past and present meet quietly. You do not need to worry, nor need to linger too long on the dark parts. Simply let the words flow around you, letting your thoughts follow them into calmness. Soon, the medieval night, once distant and mysterious, will become a quiet world for your mind to rest in, and these tales, soft and slow, will guide you effortlessly towards sleep. In the quiet corners of medieval Europe, life often moved slowly, measured by the sun and the changing seasons. Villages, tucked between rolling hills or along winding rivers, seemed peaceful at first glance, with the smoke of hearth fires curling gently into the sky and the distant sound of a blacksmith hammering metal in a rhythm almost musical. Yet beneath this calm, an invisible presence could creep unnoticed: disease. The silent plague, a quiet and deadly companion, drifted from house to house, taking lives with almost eerie precision. Unlike the bustling chaos of battlefields or the loud proclamations of kings, the plague was subtle, almost gentle in its approach, and yet its effects rippled quietly through the village, leaving behind empty homes and softened echoes of life once vibrant. Tonight, as we let our minds wander through this village, we will observe, not in horror, but with a soothing curiosity, the gentle rhythm of daily life disrupted, the calm and slow ways villagers coped with an unseen enemy. Imagine narrow lanes lined with wooden houses, animals grazing in the distance, children playing quietly by the river, unaware of the shadow slowly passing over their homes. The plague's approach is not loud. It does not announce itself with trumpets or fire. Instead, it moves like a whisper, a soft shiver along the spine of the land, shaping the lives of all who dwell there. In a village where everyone knew each other's names, the arrival of sickness was noticed first in subtle ways. A neighbor's cough lingering too long, a sudden weakness in the baker who usually rose before the sun, a widow quietly weeping for her husband who had fallen ill overnight. In the medieval mindset, such events were often interpreted with a mixture of fear and superstition. Some whispered that curses had been laid, others that God's wrath was descending. Yet, even as fear crept through the streets, life continued in quiet, almost hypnotic patterns. Children still fetched water from the well, farmers tended the soil, and the blacksmith's hammer rang in measured cadence. There was a rhythm to this resilience, a way of existing that allowed villagers to observe the slow advance of disease without the chaos of panic. At night, the quiet tolling of the church bell marked the passing of another day and another life, echoing softly against stone walls. As we imagine this scene, let your mind absorb the calm repetition, the way villagers moved with measured steps, aware yet undisturbed by the invisible presence among them. There is a strange beauty in this stillness, a gentle meditation in watching life persist amid quiet tragedy. Here, the plague is not a story of terror, but a lullaby of human endurance, a rhythm that invites our minds to slow and follow its soft cadence. Within each home, the effects of the plague were felt in ways both small and profound. The widow who now tended her own hearth after losing her husband might find solace in baking bread, her hands moving rhythmically through familiar motions. The farmer, weakened by fever, leaned on the fence while the cows grazed, listening to the wind rustle through the tall grass. Even as the plague carried away lives, there was a quiet constancy in the routines of those left behind. Meals were prepared with care, the grinding of grain and the kneading of dough forming a gentle background music for the village. In these ordinary tasks, there was meditation, a softness and repetition that could almost lull the mind. The invisible shadow of death hovering nearby did not need to be loud to be present. It was in the empty chair at the table, the unplowed furrow in the field, the silent corners of rooms once filled with laughter. And yet, in the quiet, the villagers found a rhythm of life that allowed them to persist. As we listen softly to this tale, let your mind follow these motions, seeing the grace in simple survival. The calm that arises when life moves forward despite the unseen forces surrounding it. Here, history becomes a gentle river, carrying us slowly through scenes of quiet courage and ordinary acts of resilience, perfect for drifting toward sleep. The plague did not strike everyone at once. It moved in patterns almost imperceptible, flowing through houses and cottages with a deliberate slowness, giving time for the village to adapt, to breathe, to continue existing in small, deliberate ways. Some villagers were spared, while others fell ill, creating a rhythm of life and death that pulsed gently through the streets. The children played near the edges of the fields, their laughter soft and melodic, unaffected by the invisible presence that claimed adults silently. Smoke still rose from chimneys in the late afternoon sun, carrying the comforting aroma of cooking fires. And at the same time, in quiet corners, mourners tended to those who had passed, wrapping them in linens and carrying them to small graves on the outskirts of the village. There was a strange serenity in this procession, a quiet acknowledgement of life's fragility. We imagine these scenes in slow motion, letting our minds linger on the gentle movements of villagers coping with sorrow without haste, their steps measured, their gestures deliberate. In this way, the plague becomes a soft companion in our story, guiding attention away from daily distractions and into a calm reflection on survival, community, and the quiet persistence of human life. The medieval village, though touched by tragedy, offers a soothing landscape for the mind, a space where shadows of history can lull us into rest. Nightfall brought a different kind of calm to the village, a hushed peace that contrasted with the daytime rhythms. Torches flickered along stone walls, casting long shadows across empty streets. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the faint scent of smoke and damp earth. In the houses, families huddled together, sharing stories or sitting quietly, their movements slow and deliberate. The plague, ever present yet silent, seemed almost part of the night itself, a soft rhythm in the background rather than a sudden shock. Some villagers prayed by candlelight, their whispers forming a delicate chorus that blended with the rustling leaves outside. Others simply sat in contemplation, observing the patterns of the world around them, noting the way the stars emerged one by one in the clear night sky. By focusing on these gentle scenes, the mind begins to follow the same measured pace, slowing with each described motion, softening with each whispered sound. The horror of the plague, once overwhelming in imagination, becomes a quiet companion, a presence that encourages reflection, attention, and ultimately, relaxation. It is in these calm observations, these slow journeys through the ordinary and extraordinary, that history takes on a soothing quality, guiding the listener toward a gentle, meditative state, ready for sleep. The villagers developed quiet strategies to cope with the unseen threat, practices passed down through whispers of wisdom and observation. Herbs were gathered at dawn, laid across thresholds to ward off illness. Doors were left slightly ajar to allow fresh air to circulate, and families avoided unnecessary travel beyond their familiar lanes. These small acts, though simple, created a comforting rhythm of control in a world otherwise shaped by unpredictability. The plague moved silently, but life's rituals continued in a deliberate, almost hypnotic cadence. Bread was baked, laundry washed in the stream, and the blacksmith's hammer sang against metal. In this steady repetition, there was a soft solace, a way to measure time and maintain connection to the living. By imagining these gentle acts, the mind begins to echo the rhythm, slowing the pulse, softening tension, and following the same careful pattern of deliberate movement. Even sorrow was shaped into ritual, the quiet cleaning of homes, the respectful tending of graves, the whispered prayers at dusk. In this way, the medieval village teaches a subtle lesson, one we carry into sleep, that calmness can exist even amid quiet peril, that gentle repetition offers a doorway to peace. As the night deepens, the village, though shadowed by loss, remains a sanctuary for our minds, a soft space where history's lessons lull us toward rest. In the center of the village stood the small church, its stone walls sturdy, its bell a familiar guide through the day. Villagers gathered here not only for worship but for reassurance, for a quiet community presence amid the uncertainty of the plague. Candles flickered softly in the dusk, their golden light reflected on worn wooden pews. Priests moved slowly, performing simple rituals, their voices calm and measured. In this setting, even the shadow of death became gentle, its weight diffused by the rhythms of community and ceremony. As we follow this scene, our minds are invited to linger on the soft patterns, the way footsteps echo in empty halls, the sway of candles in the evening air, the quiet repetition of words that carry both meaning and comfort. These small details guide attention away from intrusive thoughts, pulling the mind into calm observation. The plague, though ever present, takes on a hypnotic quality, blending with the flickering light and measured steps of villagers. By focusing on these images, the listener's awareness shifts, breathing slows, muscles relax, and the world narrows into a gentle, historical meditation. It is here, amid the quiet rituals and soft sounds, that history becomes a lullaby, a story meant to cradle rather than alarm, guiding us gently into a meditative state. Homes were quiet at night, yet filled with life in the smallest ways, the rustle of blankets, the soft sighs of children, the measured steps of parents moving between rooms. The plague's presence was a quiet hum, like distant thunder, shaping awareness without disturbing the delicate peace. Villagers spoke in whispers, shared stories from the past, and recounted the lessons learned from neighbors lost. These conversations, though tinged with sadness, carried a gentle rhythm, a cadence that calmed both body and mind. Even chores were performed slowly, deliberately, water drawn from wells, bread kneaded, fires stoked, creating a pattern that mirrored the heartbeat of the village itself. In this slow, steady motion, there is meditation. By letting the mind absorb these details, we allow attention to soften, thoughts to drift, and tension to dissolve. The plague, instead of a source of horror, becomes part of the ambient landscape, a shadow guiding reflection rather than panic. As our imagination follows these quiet movements, a sense of calm spreads, and the medieval world, though marked by loss, becomes a gentle companion for sleep. Each moment of observation, each measured action, encourages the mind to relax further, preparing for the descent into the peaceful, dream-filled night ahead. Sometimes, in the deepest hours, the wind carried distant noises, a horse's soft clip-clop, the faint murmur of someone passing through the village, the lonely hoot of an owl. These sounds, once perhaps startling, now become part of a soothing nocturnal symphony. The plague moves quietly in the background, its presence acknowledged but not feared. Within this gentle environment, imagination drifts easily from one house to another, following the lives of villagers performing their nightly routines. Blankets are pulled snug, embers glow softly, and the quiet world outside reflects the inner calm slowly spreading through the mind. As our attention traces these subtle motions, The body mirrors the serenity of the scene. Breathing deepens, muscles loosen, and the mind, observing without rush, finds a gentle rhythm akin to a lullaby. Each sound, each shadow, becomes part of the gentle cadence of life, creating a hypnotic flow that encourages sleep. In this way, history, even when grim, transforms into a guide for rest, a soft passage into dreams, where the medieval village exists not as a place of terror, but as a quiet, comforting landscape through which the mind can wander safely. As the first hours of the night pass, the village settles into almost perfect stillness. The flicker of candlelight becomes a steady glow. The wind whispers more faintly through the trees, and the plague, though present, drifts quietly in the background like a distant tide. Inhabitants sleep in their homes, huddled together for warmth and companionship, their breathing forming a gentle rhythm across the cobblestone lanes. The ordinary, everyday motions, the closing of shutters, the turning of locks, the soft murmur of a child in sleep, carry a hypnotic quality, a repetition that the mind naturally follows. As we imagine these scenes, a sense of calm and serenity unfolds, drawing attention away from the busyness of the modern world. The silent plague, once a symbol of fear, has become a gentle thread weaving together the lives of the villagers and the minds of listeners, leading both toward rest. By observing history in this slow, careful way, we discover that even the darkest times can offer tranquility, and that through the rhythm of ordinary life and the soft unfolding of events, the mind can be gently guided into sleep, where medieval streets, quiet homes, and flickering candles form the perfect landscape for dreaming. As night settles softly over the medieval countryside, imagine a lone castle perched on a gentle hill, its stone walls glowing faintly in the moonlight. Within these walls, life moves quietly, a delicate rhythm of torches flickering, footsteps echoing down empty corridors, and distant laughter softened by thick walls. Here, we find a knight, a man devoted to duty and honor, yet carrying a secret too heavy to share with anyone. Secrets in the medieval world were not only matters of intrigue, they shaped the very rhythm of daily life. The knight's presence, calm yet purposeful, reminds us that even in times of fear or uncertainty, there is a cadence to action, a gentle pace that allows for reflection. Tonight, we will follow him quietly, observing each step, each measured breath, and the subtle interactions with those around him. Imagine the soft clink of armor as he moves, the muted whispers in corridors, the quiet hum of life continuing around him while his mind carries the weight of hidden truths. In this slow, deliberate observation, there is a soothing quality, a meditative pull that allows the mind to wander safely into the story. The night's secret, though it carries tension, unfolds with patience, guiding attention gently through the castle's quiet halls, like a lantern casting light softly on stone floors, illuminating small details that might otherwise go unnoticed. The secret the night carries is not a tale of loud battles or sudden violence, but of trust and betrayal, of quiet choices made in dimly lit chambers. Within the castle, corridors twist and echo, stairways rise slowly, and each room holds the soft traces of those who passed before. Servants move with hushed steps, candles sway slightly in their sconces, and the air smells faintly of wax, wood, and stone. The knight walks carefully, aware that each movement might reveal more than intended. Secrets, in this context, are not burdens alone. They are companions shaping interactions and guiding decisions. He pauses near a window overlooking the courtyard, moonlight casting long shadows across the cobblestones. Here, the calm rhythm of his breathing mirrors the silent pulse of the castle itself. Outside, the world rests. Inside, life continues in soft, deliberate patterns. The secret adds a layer of tension, yet the slow pace of the story ensures that the mind remains relaxed, following each movement and decision as though tracing the gentle arcs of candlelight along the walls. In this quiet observation, we notice the beauty in measured choice, the elegance in deliberate action, and the meditative quality of life lived within stone walls. The secret is a thread woven into the nighttime tapestry, guiding the mind into contemplation rather than alarm. In the castle's grand hall, tapestries sway slightly in the night air, and the soft crackle of a dying fire adds a gentle soundtrack to the unfolding tale. Here, the knight's thoughts drift, turning over the consequences of his hidden knowledge, each possibility considered with careful attention. The medieval world, so often imagined as loud and chaotic, also contained these quiet moments of reflection, of planning, of the slow unfolding of human emotion. He moves to a small writing desk, ink and parchment waiting, though the act of recording thoughts itself is a slow ritual. Each movement, from dipping the quill to tracing words on paper, carries a rhythm that echoes the heartbeat of the castle, slow and steady. As we observe this scene, the mind begins to follow, breathing softening with each deliberate gesture. The tension of the secret does not jolt the senses. It flows gently, a current beneath the calm surface, drawing attention into the intricate details of the night's world. Shadows from the tapestries stretch across the stone floor, and the distant hoot of an owl punctuates the silence, a subtle companion to the narrative. By imagining these gentle details and guiding decisions, he pauses near a window overlooking the courtyard, moonlight casting long shadows across the cobblestones. Here, the calm rhythm of his breathing mirrors the silent pulse of the castle itself. Outside, the world rests. Inside, life continues in soft, deliberate patterns. The secret adds a layer of tension, yet the slow pace of the story ensures that the mind remains relaxed, following each movement and decision as though tracing the gentle arcs of candlelight along the walls. In this quiet observation, we notice the beauty in measured choice, the elegance in deliberate action, and the meditative quality of life lived within stone walls. The secret is a thread woven into the nighttime tapestry, guiding the mind into contemplation rather than alarm. In the castle's grand hall, tapestries sway slightly in the night air, and the soft crackle of a dying fire adds a gentle soundtrack to the unfolding tale. Here, the knight's thoughts drift, turning over the consequences of his hidden knowledge, each possibility considered with careful attention. The medieval world, so often imagined as loud and chaotic, also contained these quiet moments, moments of reflection, of planning, of the slow unfolding of human emotion. He moves to a small writing desk, ink and parchment waiting, though the act of recording thoughts itself is a slow ritual. Each movement, from dipping the quill to tracing words on paper, carries a rhythm that echoes the heartbeat of the castle, slow and steady. As we observe this scene, the mind begins to follow, breathing softening with each deliberate gesture. The tension of the secret does not jolt the senses. It flows gently, a current beneath the calm surface, drawing attention into the intricate details of the night's world. Shadows from the tapestries stretch across the stone floor, and the distant hoot of an owl punctuates the silence, a subtle companion to the narrative. By imagining these gentle details, the listener's mind begins to relax, following the same rhythm as the night, moving slowly through the quiet night, allowing curiosity and calm to coexist in the meditative stillness of the castle. Outside the hall, corridors wind and turn, their echoes soft and measured. The night walks with quiet purpose, careful not to disturb the slumbering inhabitants. Servants and guards follow their own nightly routines, footsteps muffled against stone, torches casting gentle halos of light that guide the way. Here, the castle breathes like a living organism, every movement a small part of a larger rhythm. Even the night's secret, heavy though it may feel, integrates into this flow. As we move with him through the quiet spaces, the mind absorbs the small, hypnotic details, the cool air brushing against his cheek, the distant clinking of armor, the subtle creak of wood beneath his boots. Each sound is softened by distance, each shadow softened by candlelight. In this way, the story guides attention gently, the tension of betrayal tempered by the soothing cadence of slow movement. Imagine the quiet of the night pressing softly against the stone walls, the moonlight illuminating patterns in the floor, the calm focus of a man carrying knowledge that could change lives. By following these rhythms, the listener's awareness slows, attention narrows, and a gentle sense of calm begins to spread. History, even in its darker corners, becomes a lullaby, a steady guide for thoughts to drift softly, carried along the measured steps of the night through corridors of quiet contemplation. The night's secret centers on trust, a delicate and subtle force in a world where loyalty and deception often coexist side by side. Each conversation, each interaction carries weight, yet the unfolding narrative moves with deliberate slowness. In a small chamber, he pauses to speak quietly with a fellow confidant, words whispered, gestures measured. There is no rush here, only the careful unfolding of human connection. The candlelight flickers across stone walls, casting a soft glow on both faces, illuminating intent without harsh clarity. Outside, the courtyard rests in shadow, the faint rustle of leaves punctuating the calm night. As we follow these interactions, the mind begins to mirror the pace of the story. Attention softens, muscles relax, and breathing slows. Secrets, in this context, are not sources of sudden alarm, but gentle companions, threads guiding the mind through a carefully measured landscape. The medieval castle, with its quiet rituals, its slow rhythm of life, becomes the perfect environment for contemplation and rest. By imagining the night moving with care, speaking with measured intent, the listener drifts alongside, each detail a step toward tranquility. The story's tension, though present, is muted, allowing curiosity and calm to intertwine, creating a hypnotic narrative perfect for guiding the mind towards sleep. As midnight deepens, the castle becomes even quieter, the flicker of torches creating elongated shadows that stretch across the stone floors. The knight moves with caution, aware of the weight his secret carries, but also attuned to the subtle beauty of the night around him. Outside, the gardens lie in hushed repose, the leaves whispering softly in the gentle wind. The distant howl of a wolf echoes faintly, a reminder of the wilderness beyond, yet softened by the castle walls. Each step taken by the knight is slow, deliberate, almost meditative, guiding attention gently through corridors and halls. By observing these motions, the mind follows suit, slowing in harmony with the rhythm of the night. There is comfort in this pace. No sudden surprises, no jolts of fear, only the soft unfolding of events, the quiet weighing of choices, and the gentle persistence of life within stone walls. The secret, a quiet tension, moves almost invisibly alongside the calm of the night, teaching a subtle lesson in patience, observation, and measured attention. As the story drifts forward, the listener's mind relaxes, carried by the same cadence that governs the night's careful steps, each detail a soft thread weaving the mind into a state of quiet readiness for sleep. The castle's library, a sanctuary of ink and parchment, offers a brief respite from the weight of secrecy. Here, the knight pauses, examining scrolls and manuscripts, his fingers brushing gently against the worn edges of parchment. The soft smell of aged paper mingles with the faint aroma of candle wax, creating an atmosphere of calm reflection. Words from centuries past whisper softly, offering lessons, guidance, or perhaps simply the comforting cadence of language itself. The knight's secret rests within this quiet environment, balanced against the soft rhythm of reading and contemplation. As we observe these moments, the mind is encouraged to slow, following the gentle sway of candlelight and the measured flow of thought. The medieval world, though marked by shadows and intrigue, becomes a place of serenity, where even a secret of great consequence is softened by the deliberate pacing of night rituals. By imagining these quiet details, the listener's awareness drifts gently along, the tension of secrecy tempered by soft imagery and gentle action. The castle, the night, and the silent night form a triad of calm, guiding the mind into the meditative spaces between thought and dream. Throughout the night, quiet routines continue in different corners of the castle. Guards make their rounds with measured steps, the soft scrape of boots on stone echoing faintly. Servants move quietly, attending fires, arranging tapestries, or preparing simple meals for early risers. Each action, though ordinary, contributes to a rhythm that soothes the mind and mirrors the gentle unfolding of the narrative. The night, moving deliberately through this living organism of stone and fire, is part of this rhythm, his secret a quiet undercurrent rather than a disruptive force. As attention follows each movement, the soft swing of a torch, the gentle murmur of conversation, the whisper of fabric over stone, muscles begin to relax, breathing slows, and the mind settles. Even tension becomes gentle, like a low hum in the background, guiding awareness without startling. The story's dark elements, though present, are softened by slow pacing and careful imagery, creating a hypnotic atmosphere ideal for sleep. In this way, the tale of betrayal and secrecy becomes a lullaby of measured action and quiet contemplation, a meditative passage through medieval life that allows the listener to drift gently into calm reflection and restful anticipation of dreams. Occasionally, the night pauses in moonlit courtyards, gazing at the stars reflected in the still waters of the fountain. These moments of observation, calm and slow, remind us that even amid tension, beauty exists in simple, quiet experiences. The night air is crisp but gentle, carrying distant sounds of the surrounding forest, a rustle of leaves, the soft hoot of an owl, the faint rustle of small animals in underbrush. Each detail is soft, measured, and hypnotic, drawing attention gently and allowing the mind to follow a rhythm independent of daily distractions. The secret the night carries seems lighter in this atmosphere, integrated into the slow pulse of nighttime life. By imagining these scenes, the listener drifts with him, noticing the interplay of light and shadow, sound and silence, tension and calm. This balanced duality creates a soothing mental space, where even the weightiest matters are softened into gentle observation, guiding the mind toward relaxation. History becomes a companion, the medieval night a canvas, and the night's careful steps a lullaby, leading slowly but surely toward the gentle embrace of sleep. As the first hints of dawn begin to touch the eastern sky, the castle remains cloaked in a soft tranquility. The knight retreats to his chamber, the weight of his secret carried quietly, but now tempered by the rhythm of the night's observations. The world outside is slowly illuminated by pale light, revealing gardens, walls, and distant hills softened by mist. Within the castle, life continues in gentle, measured routines. The lighting of morning fires, the quiet preparation of simple meals, the gentle stirring of inhabitants waking from deep rest. By tracing these slow, deliberate motions, the mind absorbs the meditative qualities of the tale: patience, observation, and the soft persistence of human life even amid tension. The secret, once a source of inner weight, now rests peacefully within the night's consciousness, carried alongside the rhythmic motion of the castle and the quiet pulse of history itself. As the story concludes for now, the listener is invited to remain in this calm, reflective space, carried gently toward relaxation and the restful anticipation of sleep, where medieval corridors, moonlit courtyards, and whispered secrets become companions in the quiet journey of the night. As twilight settles over the rolling hills, our minds drift toward a castle abandoned by time, its stone walls weathered and softened by centuries of wind and rain. The forgotten castle stands like a quiet sentinel, its towers rising above tangled ivy and moss-covered courtyards. Though empty of human voices, the castle breathes in subtle ways. The faint creak of a loose door in the breeze, the distant murmur of a stream winding through overgrown gardens, and the soft rustle of leaves brushing against ancient stones. In the stillness, shadows stretch like slow-moving waves, and the air carries the faint scent of damp earth and aged wood. Imagine wandering its corridors with care, each step measured, each echo soft, as your attention traces the gentle rhythm of the deserted halls. The castle is not threatening, but rather meditative, a space where the mind can wander at its own pace, exploring the interplay of shadow, silence, and soft ambient noises. Those stories tell of ghosts lingering in corners and whispers carried by stone walls. Tonight, these tales are not meant to alarm, but to soothe, to gently carry attention from the distractions of daily life into a world that moves more slowly, more deliberately. By imagining this quiet space, we begin a gentle journey through memory and history, where every stone, every corridor, and every shadow is a lullaby in miniature, inviting the mind to relax, linger, and drift toward sleep. The courtyard, overgrown yet serene, offers a hypnotic rhythm as soft wind brushes through tall grass and wildflowers. Broken fountains murmur faintly, their water trickling over mossy stone, creating a sound like whispered secrets. Here, the world feels both timeless and gentle, as though centuries have conspired to soften the edges of memory into a tranquil landscape. Each window, empty yet echoing softly with imagined footsteps, invites the mind to wander slowly, noticing details without urgency. In the great hall, Faded tapestries hang like still curtains, their patterns softened by age, telling stories of kings, battles, and festivals long past. As we drift through these spaces, it becomes easy to imagine the lives once lived within these walls. The quiet conversations, the slow pacing of guards along corridors, the gentle clinking of utensils during evening meals. There is rhythm here, a cadence of time that invites the listener to move with the castle itself. Slow, measured, and contemplative. Even the notion of haunting takes on a softer hue, no longer startling, but rather a companion for reflection. Shadows become gentle guides, flickering and flowing like soft waves, and the mind begins to echo their subtle, soothing motion. By allowing attention to rest on these small details, a sense of calm spreads, tension loosens, and the imagination begins to float, carried by the hypnotic landscape of the forgotten castle. Inside the castle's tower, narrow staircases spiral upward with quiet precision, each step echoing softly against stone. Here, the mind slows further, tracing the gentle curves of walls, the subtle play of light and shadow, and the faint drafts that whisper through tiny openings. The higher one ascends, the quieter the world becomes, as if the air itself has softened with age. From the top, the view extends over the surrounding forest, now wrapped in the muted glow of evening. Imagine standing there, feeling the cool stone under your hands, the soft wind brushing your cheeks, and the distant sounds of night creatures beginning their gentle routines. The castle, though abandoned, is alive in this meditative sense. Every echo, every flicker of light, every soft movement of leaves contributes to the hypnotic rhythm of the place. It is here, amid empty halls and forgotten chambers, that the mind is encouraged to relax deeply, following a slow pulse of attention that mirrors the measured cadence of a living space at rest. The whispers of the past, stories of nobles, servants, and wandering travelers, float softly through the imagination, not as threats, but as gentle companions. This is a world where the ordinary and extraordinary blend, where shadows become lullabies, and where the very silence of stone walls carries a quiet music, leading the mind further into a meditative, almost dreamlike state. Descending into the cellar, the air grows cooler, carrying the faint aroma of earth and old wood. Barrels and crates, remnants of long-forgotten feasts, rest quietly in corners, dust settling softly on their surfaces. Here, even in the darkness, there is calm. The cellar's silence is punctuated only by occasional drips of water from the stone ceiling, a sound that blends seamlessly with the slow rhythm of one's own breathing. Imagine tracing fingers along the rough-hewn walls, noticing the subtle textures, the tiny imperfections, and the slow play of shadows across the floor. The cellar, though associated with storage and labor, now becomes a space for reflection, its quiet routines imagined as gentle gestures. Even the idea of haunting is softened here. If whispers of spirits linger, they move with measured grace, never abrupt, always gentle, like a breeze brushing across still water. The mind begins to echo this calm rhythm, absorbing the cadence of place and time. Each detail, from the faint echo of steps to the cool touch of stone, guides the listener into a soft meditative state. In this forgotten castle, history is a lullaby, its weight muted by centuries of stillness, its lessons carried gently through stone and shadow, inviting the mind to linger, drift, and prepare for the restful embrace of sleep. The castle gardens, now wild and unkempt, offer another layer of hypnotic calm. Paths overgrown with grass curve gently between ancient statues, their surfaces softened by moss and rain. Imagine walking slowly along these paths, feeling the subtle crunch of grass underfoot, and the soft brush of leaves against hands. Birds, settling in hidden nests, sing quietly, their melodies delicate and irregular, blending with distant sounds of flowing water from a forgotten fountain. Here, nature and history intertwine in gentle harmony, softening any sense of unease and allowing attention to drift. Even the shadows cast by crumbling walls are comforting, forming patterns that move slowly with the setting sun, guiding the eye and the mind in soft, circular motions. By lingering in these imagined spaces, the listener becomes part of the castle's rhythm, slow, quiet, reflective. The concept of haunting fades into gentle curiosity, each shadow an echo, a companion rather than a threat. In this meditative wandering, the mind finds space to relax completely, noticing small details, feeling the textures of stone, wood, and foliage, and allowing the hypnotic cadence of a long-abandoned castle to lull consciousness gently toward rest. In the great hall, moonlight filters through broken windows, scattering soft beams across the worn flagstone floor. Tables lie empty, their surfaces dusted with centuries, and chairs rest askew as though paused mid-motion by time itself. The mind is invited to linger on these details, the subtle play of light across the floor, the soft echo of imagined footsteps, the faint whisper of wind through gaps in the walls. Each movement, imagined slowly, encourages breathing to soften, muscles to relax, and the heart to fall into rhythm with the castle's gentle pulse. Tales of past inhabitants drift quietly in the imagination. Quiet meals shared, conversations held in low tones, laughter muffled but present in memory. Even the shadows along the walls, perhaps once the domain of restless spirits, take on a calm, hypnotic quality, flickering slowly with candlelight or moonbeams. Here, the story's darker elements, ghosts, whispers, abandoned halls, become gentle companions, their presence soothing rather than alarming. As attention follows these measured details, the mind mirrors the pace, absorbing calmness and settling into a meditative state. The castle, though forgotten, offers structure, rhythm, and a serene, almost hypnotic atmosphere, creating a perfect landscape for the mind to drift gradually towards sleep. The castle's chapel, tucked into a quiet corner, exudes a subtle tranquility. Its small stained glass windows catch moonlight in soft fragments, painting the walls with muted colors and delicate patterns. Imagine stepping inside, noticing the faint scent of stone and wax, the cool stillness enveloping the body like a gentle blanket. Even the abandoned altar, dusted with the soft residue of time, suggests ritual, reflection, and continuity. Here, the mind slows naturally, following the gentle curves of arches, the rhythmic lines of carved stone, and the quiet flow of imagined footsteps along the floor. Though the castle is abandoned, the chapel holds a sense of presence, a soft reminder that life once moved deliberately here, with measured pace and calm ritual. The listener, guided by slow narration and gentle imagery, mirrors this rhythm. Attention softens, the pulse steadies, and the mind begins to drift. Shadows become guides, sounds become companions, and the abandoned space transforms into a sanctuary for rest. In this hypnotic meditation, even the haunting elements, the stories of lingering spirits, echoes of the past, serve not to frighten, but to create a soothing cadence, a slow, deliberate unfolding of history that prepares the mind for sleep. As the night deepens and the surrounding forest grows quiet, the castle stands in perfect stillness. Windows frame the silver moon, towers reach silently toward the sky, and the stone walls breathe a soft, hypnotic rhythm. Imagine walking through its halls one last time, noticing how echoes stretch and fade, how light and shadow interact gently, and how every corner, every crevice, carries a subtle story. The castle, forgotten by time, yet alive in imagination, guides the mind into a meditative calm. Even tales of haunting, whispers of spirits, and the creaking of old wood are softened, forming part of a gentle symphony of sights and sounds. As we linger here, attention narrows, breathing slows, and a sense of peace settles deeply. The forgotten castle is no longer merely a structure. It becomes a living lullaby, its rhythm and stillness inviting relaxation, reflection, and the soft journey into sleep. The stone walls, empty chambers, and moonlit gardens form a landscape that cradles the imagination, carrying both tension and tranquility in delicate balance, a perfect companion for the mind ready to drift into rest. In a quiet village nestled between misty hills, there lived a man whose wealth was unmatched, but whose heart was tightly closed. The villagers knew him as the miser, a man who counted every coin and guarded his treasures as though they were living things. His house, perched at the edge of the village, was filled with soft shadows that moved with the flickering candlelight, and the air always carried the faint metallic scent of coins. Though others whispered about curses and consequences, the miser moved through his home with deliberate calm, counting, polishing and arranging his wealth. Imagine walking alongside him in the slow, measured rhythm of his routines, the gentle clink of coins in iron chests, the soft rustle of parchment lists, and the muted steps on wooden floors worn smooth over time. Even the darkness of the rooms feels meditative, each shadow a guide rather than a threat, each detail a soft rhythm for the mind to follow. As the story unfolds, the listener is invited to move at the same pace, noticing textures, sounds, and motions in gentle observation. The miser's obsession, though rooted in greed, carries a hypnotic cadence. It teaches us that even the weightiest desires can be softened into rhythm, that the quiet tension of secrecy and hoarding can become a companion for reflection. In this slow unfolding, the Dark Ages village becomes a landscape of contemplation, perfect for guiding the mind gently towards sleep. Within the miser's home, shadows gather softly in corners, wrapping the room in a delicate, almost protective blanket. Coins stacked in piles glimmer faintly in candlelight, while ledgers and notes lie carefully arranged on tables. Each movement he makes is slow and deliberate, lifting a coin, inspecting its edge, returning it to its place. The act itself becomes a gentle rhythm, a hypnotic motion that mirrors the pulse of the quiet village outside. Occasionally, a draft rustles through the windows, shifting the faint scent of wax and metal, while the soft echo of footsteps outside marks the passage of time. Villagers glance from afar, curious yet cautious, as the miser's behavior unfolds like a quiet ritual. Here, the mind of the listener begins to align with the measured pace of daily life within the home. Even the stories of curses, of those who stole or borrowed and suffered mysterious misfortune, are softened by the deliberate narration, becoming gentle tales of cause and effect rather than startling surprises. The richness of detail, the textures, sounds, and subtle movements creates a hypnotic quality, encouraging the mind to slow, absorb, and drift. In this meditative space, the miser's greed transforms into a rhythm, an unfolding narrative that invites calm reflection rather than alarm. Each shadow, each coin, each echo of movement becomes a small guide, leading the listener further into the soft cadence of history and imagination. As night descends on the village, the miser's world takes on a deeper, almost serene stillness. Candle flames flicker and stretch across the walls, casting moving shadows over coins and ledgers. The quiet ticking of a small wooden clock becomes a hypnotic companion, marking time in a gentle cadence. Outside, the wind rustles through the trees, carrying distant sounds, the low murmur of livestock, the faint shuffle of a villager making their final rounds, and the occasional soft splash of water from the nearby stream. The miser, aware of the night's solitude, moves with patience and care, polishing coins and counting again, a ritual repeated with tender precision. In this slow, meditative unfolding, even the weight of greed is softened. Rather than provoking tension, it becomes part of a larger, calming rhythm. The mind of the listener drifts alongside the measured motions, tracing shadows, hearing echoes, and absorbing the tactile quality of objects imagined in quiet detail. Here, the curse is more suggestion than threat, a subtle energy woven into the narrative, allowing attention to float easily between awareness and imagination. The darkened house, the flickering candlelight, and the quiet motions of the miser all serve to guide thought gently, crafting a landscape where reflection, observation, and calm coexist in perfect harmony, lulling the mind closer to restful sleep. In the upper chambers, the miser keeps a small window open to catch the night air. Moonlight falls softly across coin-strewn tables and stacks of ledgers, illuminating patterns that shift slowly as clouds pass overhead. The movement of light creates gentle rhythms, flickering across worn floorboards and ancient furniture. Imagine tracing these motions with the mind, noting the soft sway of shadows, the subtle gleam of metal, and the cool touch of stone underfoot. Even the whisper of wind becomes part of the hypnotic rhythm, carrying distant sounds from the village and blending them into a meditative background hum. The miser's presence, though focused on greed, is not harsh. It is steady, deliberate, and predictable. In this predictability lies comfort. The mind follows the quiet cadence, slowing with each observed detail, softening with each imagined sound. Stories of curses that haunt his wealth, coins that vanish mysteriously, or fires that start in forgotten corners, are gentle, almost musical in their rhythm, weaving tension and release in a way that encourages attention without alarm. By allowing the imagination to wander slowly through these chambers, the listener's mind is invited to drift alongside, absorbing the quiet, hypnotic patterns of night and human habit. The medieval house, its riches, and its shadows form a gentle landscape, carrying consciousness steadily toward relaxation. Even the villagers beyond the miser's home play a role in this soft narrative. Observing from windows or from distant paths, they whisper stories of misfortune and strange occurrences, yet their presence moves gently in the background, like notes in a lullaby. Children peek from behind curtains, curious but cautious, while elders shake their heads with quiet wisdom, recounting long-past lessons. The world outside mirrors the calm inside, each village routine unfolding slowly. A dog pads softly along cobblestones, smoke curls lazily from chimneys, and the distant church bell rings softly in measured intervals. This harmony of motion and sound creates a hypnotic atmosphere, one that the mind naturally follows. Even the darkest elements of the tale, the curse, the miser's obsession, the occasional shadow that seems to move of its own accord, blend seamlessly into this rhythm, becoming part of a landscape of gentle observation. The listener, tracing each motion, each sound, each subtle flicker of light, finds attention slowing, muscles relaxing, and thoughts softening. History, wealth, and superstition merge into a meditative experience, teaching the mind to linger without rush, to notice without fear, and to drift steadily toward the restorative quiet of sleep. At the hearth, the miser sometimes allows a small fire to burn, its orange glow dancing across walls and illuminating the faint gleam of coins. Each flicker becomes a point of gentle attention, guiding the eyes and the mind in slow, rhythmic motion. Shadows shift slowly across ledgers and tables, and the mind follows their hypnotic flow. Even the tension of greed, the fear of losing wealth or the desire for more, softens in the measured pace of the night. By tracing the subtle interplay of light and shadow, listeners feel their own pulse slow, muscles relax, and breathing deepen. Outside, the soft rustle of trees and the distant call of a night bird create a calming soundtrack, blending with the indoor motions to form a gentle symphony. The miser's actions, once potentially alarming in their obsessive precision, now become a meditative guide, a slow unfolding of human habit and the subtle rhythms of medieval life. The curse, imagined in soft focus, adds intrigue without urgency, allowing the mind to wander safely along its gentle current. In this way, the story carries attention towards stillness, reflection, and the soft, meditative state that precedes sleep. Upstairs, a small window offers a view of the moonlight reflecting across the village rooftops. Each roof, each tree, each flicker of candlelight becomes part of the story's rhythm, forming patterns that guide attention slowly and gently. The miser moves quietly, pausing to glance at the night sky, his silhouette framed by soft shadows. The cool night air and faint scent of smoke mingle with the metallic tang of coins, creating a sensory landscape that encourages meditation and calm. Even the notion of a curse, a mysterious whisper or sudden, unexplained sound, is softened by the measured pace of observation. Attention flows naturally, like water around stones, following the quiet details of place, habit, and history. The listener drifts alongside, noticing textures, sounds, and motions, allowing the story to carry them into a state of gentle awareness. This deliberate pacing transforms tension into hypnotic rhythm, creating a narrative that is both engaging and soothing. Each shadow, flicker, and sound becomes a guide, leading the mind deeper into stillness, reflection, and the quiet anticipation of sleep. As the first hints of dawn touch the sky, the village remains calm and softened by the night. The miser retreats to his chambers, the fire flickering low, coins stacked neatly, and ledgers closed for now. Outside, smoke drifts lazily from chimneys. Birds begin to stir softly, and the distant hum of daily life awakens gently. The story of greed, curses, and meticulous care rests as quietly as the village itself. The mind, following the slow unfolding of events, mirrors the measured pace of the scene, muscles relaxing, breathing deepening, and attention softening. In this hypnotic, calm landscape, the listener is carried effortlessly towards sleep, guided by the rhythm of medieval life, gentle shadows, and the quiet pulse of human habit. The tale of the miser, though rooted in the darker corners of history, transforms into a lullaby, a meditation on patience, observation, and the soft unfolding of life and consequence in the dark ages. The mind, now calm and reflective, drifts naturally into rest. Deep within the rolling hills of a forgotten medieval village lies a cloister, its stone walls wrapped in ivy, its narrow pathways softened by centuries of quiet passage. Within these walls, monks live lives of measured routine, devoted to prayer, reflection, and the gentle rhythm of daily labor. Tonight, our attention follows one monk whose steps carry the weight of secrets, though his movements are calm and deliberate. Imagine the soft echo of his sandals on worn stone floors, the muted rustle of robes as he walks slowly through candlelit corridors, and the faint scent of incense mingling with the cool, damp air. The monastery, though a place of devotion, holds whispers of hidden knowledge and quiet mysteries. Yet these secrets are never harsh or alarming. Instead, they unfold with a gentle, hypnotic cadence, inviting the mind to move at the same pace, tracing shadows, light, and soft textures with care. Each step, each breath, each quiet glance becomes a thread in the slow tapestry of nocturnal life. Even as the monk approaches the chapel for his final prayer, the listener is drawn into the meditative rhythm, following gentle echoes and flickering candlelight, feeling the mind slow in harmony with the deliberate pacing of this sacred, secretive world. The narrative moves softly, offering calm intrigue and a steady pathway toward relaxation, guiding attention without haste or jolt, and preparing the mind for the gentle embrace of sleep. Inside the chapel, the air is hushed and still, heavy with the soft fragrance of wax and old stone. The monk kneels at the altar, hands folded, eyes lowered, and the flicker of candlelight casts long, gentle shadows that stretch across the walls. His prayer is slow, deliberate, a rhythm that mirrors the quiet pulse of the monastery itself. Outside, the wind rustles softly through the cloister gardens, carrying faint whispers from overgrown trees and distant bells chiming in the evening. Each sound, softened by distance, becomes part of a gentle cadence, a hypnotic backdrop that guides attention inward. The monk's secret, whatever burden it carries, does not break this calm. It moves alongside it, a quiet companion to reflection rather than a source of tension. Imagine following his gaze as it drifts to old manuscripts, the faint ink lines telling stories of devotion, discipline, and hidden histories. By tracing these details, the listener's mind begins to slow, muscles relaxing, attention narrowing softly, and breathing deepening. Shadows flicker like gentle waves, footsteps echo like soft drum beats, and the entire environment unfolds as a meditative landscape. The secrets of the cloister, far from alarming, become a soothing rhythm, a quiet invitation to drift, observe, and surrender to the hypnotic cadence of medieval life, where contemplation and calm coexist seamlessly with hidden truths. The cloister's corridors stretch like quiet rivers, guiding the monks' movements with gentle precision. Each step is measured, the soft tap of sandals against worn stone creating a delicate, repeating pattern. Along these corridors, wooden doors, aged and polished, stand silently, their surfaces etched with decades of hands that passed before. Imagine the monk pausing at each doorway, brushing a hand lightly against the cool wood, the slight creak of hinges blending with distant whispers of wind. In this slow, rhythmic movement, the secret he carries becomes a shadow that moves in tandem with his careful pace. Even the stillness of the walls seems alive, absorbing and reflecting soft echoes, carrying them gently through arched passageways. The listener, tracing each echo and observing each subtle motion, finds attention naturally slowing, pulse calming, and awareness drifting. The quiet of the night, combined with the hypnotic rhythm of footsteps, robes, and flickering candles, encourages a deep sense of relaxation. Secrets, hidden histories, and gentle shadows blend seamlessly, transforming tension into meditation. By following this slow unfolding, the mind begins to mirror the monk's deliberate focus, absorbing the cadence of the cloister and drifting toward a state of calm, reflective rest, where even the weight of hidden knowledge carries a soothing rhythm that lulls the senses and quiets thought. In the small garden courtyard, moonlight spills over worn stone paths, illuminating soft moss and the faint glimmer of dew on leaves. The monk pauses here briefly, breathing in the cool night air, feeling the gentle sway of branches and the delicate patterns of shadows across the ground. Even the faint hoot of an owl and the distant rustle of leaves form part of the meditative soundscape, merging seamlessly with the rhythm of slow steps and quiet prayer. The secrets of the cloister, once weighty and tense, dissolve into soft awareness, carried gently by candlelight, moonlight, and measured movement. Each detail, the texture of stone, the glint of dew, the faint whisper of wind, is observed without hurry, each moment extending the hypnotic cadence of night. The mind drifts alongside the monk, noticing subtleties, imagining quiet textures, and following shadows as they shift slowly across walls and paths. Even the faint echo of chanting from distant monks blends with the natural sounds, creating a layered rhythm that soothes attention and slows thought. Here, the listener finds a space to breathe deeply, to settle into quiet observation, and to allow imagination to float freely within the gentle, reflective world of the cloister. History, secrecy, and ritual combine into a meditative landscape, drawing the mind deeper into calm, hypnotic attention and preparing the senses for restful slumber. The monk moves next to the scriptorium, where soft candlelight flickers over manuscripts stacked neatly on oak tables. Each book carries centuries of prayers, reflections, and quiet knowledge. He lifts a manuscript carefully, tracing faded ink lines. With gentle fingers, absorbing the rhythm of words written long ago. Imagine the soft creak of floorboards underfoot, the faint hum of distant wind through windows, and the slow, measured breathing of someone immersed in careful observation. The secret he holds, though hidden and profound, is carried with the same deliberate patience that guides his attention to the manuscripts. Even in darkness, the scriptorium is a space of calm meditation where shadows, candlelight, and texture provide hypnotic details for the mind to follow. The listener, attuned to these subtle motions, begins to mirror the monk's slow rhythm, muscles softening, breathing deepening, and attention narrowing to the gentle interplay of light, shadow, and quiet action. Each moment, though rooted in secrecy, is a lullaby in itself, a slow unfolding of history, human care, and delicate observation that guides thought naturally into reflective calm. The scriptorium, the manuscripts, and the monk's careful movements create a hypnotic cycle of attention and relaxation, drawing the mind toward the soothing embrace of sleep. As the night deepens, the monk ascends a narrow staircase to the upper gallery, the stone steps cool under his sandals. Moonlight filters through arched windows, casting elongated shadows that stretch across the floor and walls. Each shadow seems to move slowly, a companion to the measured rhythm of his ascent. Imagine following each step with the mind, noticing how echoes stretch and fade, how light dances across worn stone, and how silence feels expansive yet comforting. The secret he carries, whether known to history or imagined, is softened by the hypnotic cadence of movement, by the slow, deliberate rhythm of the cloister itself. Outside, the wind rustles gently through trees, and the distant sound of night creatures punctuates the quiet without urgency. The listener, tracing these details, begins to slow naturally, muscles relaxing and thoughts drifting. Even the sense of hidden knowledge, often associated with tension, becomes a gentle companion, woven seamlessly into the meditative landscape of candlelight, stone, and shadows. By following the monk's quiet, deliberate journey, attention itself begins to move in rhythm with the story, settling softly into awareness, reflection, and the meditative calm that precedes restful sleep. At the top of the gallery, the monk kneels near a small window, gazing out over the cloister gardens bathed in silver moonlight. Leaves sway gently, dew glints faintly, and distant stars shimmer in the clear night sky. The world feels expansive yet contained, silent yet alive. Each breath taken by the monk, each subtle movement, and each glance at the moonlit landscape carries a soft rhythm that guides attention naturally. The secrets of the cloister, hidden prayers, quiet rituals and whispered histories become gentle companions, moving with measured grace alongside the listener's mind. Even imagined echoes of chants, distant footsteps, or rustling robes are absorbed into the hypnotic cadence, forming a layered landscape of calm, reflection, and gentle observation. The mind follows, tracing light and shadow, sound and silence, action and stillness, until attention slows completely and relaxation spreads. In this meditative journey, secrecy, devotion, and nocturnal rhythm combine seamlessly, allowing the story to guide the listener into a state of hypnotic calm, reflective thought, and restful awareness. As the first hints of dawn appear on the horizon, soft light brushes the cloister's stone walls, gardens, and quiet corridors. The monk rises slowly, finishing his last prayer, and returns to his chamber with measured steps. The air still heavy with the scent of wax, stone, and earth. Outside, birds begin their morning songs. Smoke rises lazily from distant chimneys, and the village awakens gently. Within this calm transition, the secrets of the cloister remain, now softened by rhythm, observation, and the slow cadence of night. The listener, having followed the monk through candlelit corridors, moonlit gardens, and shadowed chambers, mirrors the same relaxed pace, muscles soft, breath slow, mind drifting. The tale of devotion, secrecy, and careful meditation transforms into a gentle lullaby, a quiet guide toward the restful embrace of sleep. In the hypnotic, measured world of the cloister, even hidden truths carry serenity, leading attention softly into calm reflection and the natural descent into night's restorative rest. In the heart of a quiet medieval town, the village square lies empty beneath a soft, silvered moon. Cobbled stones, worn smooth by countless footsteps, glisten faintly with dew, reflecting the dim light in a muted, gentle shimmer. Tonight, the square is unusually still, carrying the weight of anticipation without urgency, a rhythm that unfolds slowly like a quiet breath. Imagine standing at the edge of the plaza, noticing shadows cast by timber-framed houses, the soft rustle of leaves from nearby trees, and the faint murmur of wind slipping between narrow streets. In the center, a scaffold waits, simple in construction yet commanding in presence, its timbers dark and heavy against the pale night. Though the story of the midnight execution carries a grim undertone, it is softened by distance, imagined slowly, as if watching a delicate play unfold. The townspeople, though unseen, move in gentle procession through your mind's eye, quiet figures tracing slow, measured steps along the square, their silhouettes blending with the muted shadows. Each detail, the faint glimmer of moonlight on iron, the subtle movement of draped fabric, the gentle echo of footsteps on cobbles, creates a hypnotic cadence, guiding attention without alarm. By tracing these motions and textures softly, The mind begins to synchronize with the rhythm of the square, muscles relax, breathing slows, and tension eases, allowing a calm, meditative focus to take root. As the evening deepens, the soft light of lanterns flickers, their glow casting warm patches on the cool cobblestones. The scaffold, quiet and still, is framed by gentle shadows that shift slowly with the movement of lantern flames. Imagine observing the subtle sway of ropes, the faint creak of timber, and the rhythmic patterns of light and shadow stretching across the square. Even the murmur of distant voices, imagined as low and steady, blends seamlessly into this tranquil landscape, creating a gentle soundscape for reflection. The condemned figure, bound yet calm, moves slowly with the attendants, their presence measured and deliberate. Each motion, from the careful positioning on the scaffold to the subtle adjustments of ropes and clothing, carries a hypnotic rhythm that softens the tension of the story. Outside the immediate scene, the town slumbers quietly. Windows glow faintly, distant animals stir softly, and the night air hums with gentle currents. In this slow unfolding, the darker elements of history, the anticipation, the threat, the execution itself, are softened by focus on texture, motion, and quiet detail. The listener's mind begins to mirror the steady pacing, following subtle shifts in shadow, light, and sound, creating a meditative state where curiosity and calm coexist, drawing attention naturally toward reflection and gentle relaxation. The attendants move with careful deliberation, their robes brushing softly against the scaffold boards. Each step, each motion, each whispered word carries a measured cadence, as though the night itself guides their movements. Imagine tracing the shadow of a hand sliding along timber, the faint sway of lanterns in the cool breeze, and the gentle echo of muted footsteps against stone. The condemned, standing quietly, becomes part of this rhythm, breathing in tandem with the calm, meditative pulse of the square. The townspeople, unseen yet imagined at the edges of the scene, add to the hypnotic quality of the story, their faint whispers blending with distant animal sounds and the soft rustle of leaves. Even the anticipation, often associated with tension or fear, is softened by the deliberate pace, creating a landscape where attention moves slowly, absorbing textures, rhythms, and gentle echoes. Candlelight flickers, wind brushes lightly against faces and fabric, and shadows stretch and contract with infinite patience. By following these subtle movements, the listener's mind finds itself carried along a quiet current, muscles relaxing, pulse slowing, and consciousness drifting. The midnight execution, while grim in content, becomes a meditative tableau, a slow dance of shadow, sound, and movement that invites attention to soften, reflection to deepen, and the hypnotic calm of the night to settle gently over the mind. From a balcony above the square, the moonlight glints softly on the rooftops, sending muted beams across the cobblestones below. The scaffold's timbers appear warmer in the silvery glow, every detail, knots in the ropes, grain in the wood, slight tremors in the boards, becoming a gentle focus for the mind. Imagine following these small movements, letting eyes trace shadows and textures slowly, without urgency or alarm. Even the presence of guards, standing at measured intervals, becomes part of the rhythmic landscape, their soft boots and quiet stance merging with the pulse of night. In this hypnotic environment, the condemned's breathing, the swaying of robes, and the distant murmur of imagined villagers are all transformed into a lullaby of motion and sound. Attention, guided by subtle imagery, drifts naturally, observing textures, movements, and soft echoes with a quiet curiosity. The story of a midnight execution, though grim, is softened by measured detail, slow pacing, and immersive description. As the listener traces the ebb and flow of light, shadow, and sound, the mind begins to settle, muscles release tension, and breathing deepens. Shadows stretch like slow rivers, footsteps echo faintly and rhythmically, and the pulse of the square merges with the listener's own internal rhythm, creating a meditative space where reflection and relaxation coexist. Lanterns sway gently in the evening breeze, casting elongated shapes across the square and accentuating the soft contours of the scaffold. The condemned, still and composed, moves with the attendants. In deliberate harmony, each motion a quiet beat in the hypnotic rhythm of the night. The mind follows carefully, noting subtle shifts in posture, the interplay of light and shadow, and the soft creak of timber responding to weight. Beyond the square, rooftops, distant trees, and cobbled alleys contribute to the soundscape. Faint rustles of leaves, soft animal movements, and whispers of imagined townsfolk create a gentle, layered ambience. The listener is encouraged to slow breathing and attention, synchronizing with the measured unfolding of events. Even the darker elements of execution, the threat, the solemnity, the weight of consequence, are softened by focus on texture, rhythm, and sensory detail. Shadows stretch, lantern light wavers, and echoes pulse gently, forming a soothing cadence. By observing these subtle cues, the mind is guided into reflective calm, muscles loosen, and thought drifts, carried by the hypnotic unfolding of night. The midnight execution becomes a meditative tableau, a rhythm of light, shadow, and quiet motion, carrying the listener deeper into awareness of subtle details and the hypnotic, sleep-inducing cadence of historical life. From the edge of the square, one might notice the cool glint of dew on nearby stones, the soft sway of vines along timber-framed houses, and the distant murmur of wind threading between narrow streets. These delicate, quiet details, though peripheral to the story itself, amplify the hypnotic quality of the scene. Every flicker of light, every subtle movement, every soft echo becomes part of a layered rhythm, encouraging the mind to follow, to absorb, and to slow. The condemned's presence, the attendant's measured motions, and the gentle sway of shadows merge seamlessly with the environment, forming a unified cadence of calm. Attention drifts naturally between textures, light, and sound. Muscles relax further and breathing deepens. Even the idea of tension, inherent in the notion of a midnight execution, is softened into a meditative observation, a quiet companion to reflection rather than alarm. The listener moves through the scene as if walking along the edges of shadows, feeling the cadence of night, noting the gentle sway of lanterns, and letting the rhythm of events synchronize with the natural rhythm of the body. The square, empty yet alive, carries a hypnotic pulse that guides the mind towards stillness, offering a space for calm meditation and gradual descent into sleep. Above, the stars shimmer faintly, distant and steady, their light reflecting softly on rooftops and cobbles. The scaffold, the condemned, the attendants, and the imagined villagers all exist within this tranquil glow, each movement unfolding in quiet synchrony with the night. Candlelight flickers against walls, wind whispers through narrow streets, and shadows pulse gently across surfaces. By observing these small, subtle shifts, the mind aligns with the meditative rhythm of the square, muscles continue to relax, and attention drifts easily from one gentle detail to another. Even the notion of a grim event becomes softened, abstracted into rhythm, texture, and quiet observation. The listener's mind flows with the motion of light, shadow, and sound, creating a hypnotic state where tension dissolves, curiosity becomes calm reflection, and the pulse of the historical moment merges seamlessly with the internal rhythm of the body. This meditative attention allows consciousness to descend gradually, settling into the tranquil cadence of night, where imagination, awareness, and relaxation coexist in harmonious balance. As the first hints of dawn brush the rooftops and the cool night air softens into gentle light, the square grows quieter still. Lanterns dim, shadows fade, and the square's features, the scaffold, cobblestones, and surrounding structures, become softened outlines in the morning glow. The attendants and the imagined townsfolk recede into calm silence, leaving the listener immersed in a world of texture, rhythm, and quiet reflection. The hypnotic cadence of footsteps, shadows, and flickering lights carries the mind gently toward rest. Even the story's darker elements, the execution, the tension, the weight of consequence, transform into a meditative tableau, a pattern of motion and stillness that invites attention to soften completely. Breathing deepens, muscles relax, and the mind drifts naturally towards sleep, carried by the slow, deliberate rhythm of medieval life. The gentle interplay of light and shadow, and the hypnotic, calming pulse of the midnight square. The tale closes not with fear, but with reflective serenity, a soft guide into the restorative quiet of slumber. Deep in a forest where the winter wind whispers softly through bare branches, there lived a figure known only as the Witch of Winter. Her presence, though cloaked in mystery, is not threatening. It is quiet, deliberate, and meditative. Imagine walking slowly along a snow-dusted path, noticing the muted crunch of footsteps on frozen ground and the faint glimmer of frost-catching moonlight. The trees stand like silent sentinels, their skeletal branches swaying gently with the soft night breeze. In the distance, a dim light flickers from a small, hidden hut, her home nestled among snow-laden pines. The witch moves with measured grace, each gesture deliberate, each step syncing with the soft rhythm of the surrounding forest. Even her magic, whispered in ancient lore, unfolds like a gentle current rather than a sharp shock, a slow dance of shadow, flickering candlelight, and subtle sound. As the listener traces her movements, imagining the texture of wood, the scent of burning herbs, and the soft glow from her hearth, the mind naturally begins to slow, muscles relax, and breathing deepens. Shadows elongate and contract with hypnotic patience, carrying attention gently along winding paths, flickering flames, and the quiet pulse of winter. The Witch of Winter, though steeped in legend, becomes a serene guide, inviting reflection, gentle curiosity, and meditative observation